So welcome everyone to XpoNorth Digital Shorts. Very excited to have Josie here. Josie is a researcher in fashion and textile design at Robert Gordon University and associated with Gray School's art within that university. Hello.
Hi there, Jessica. Thanks so much for inviting me along.
You know, I mentioned this before, but I'm very jealous of your background. I have gray. Well, of course, you're in fashion and textile design. You have a beautiful picture behind you.
Thank you. Yes, I think it's one of the perks of working in an art school is you get an opportunity to have a look around the degree show and select some students' work that you really like. So this is one of our ex-grade students from painting quite a number of years ago.
That's wonderful. It's just wonderful. It's beautiful, and clearly you guys produce really, really wonderful work. We're here today to talk about something that I have to admit I knew nothing about. It sounds very exciting. It's called augmented fashion. What is that?
It's a good question. Absolutely. It's actually a research project that we're doing at Robert Gordon University, and it's between three different schools. So it's Gray School of Art, it's the Creative and Cultural Business School, and it's also the School of Computing. So it's a really sort of multidisciplinary area, and I think that's probably why a lot of people have not heard of it, because it is a kind of new area. So it's looking at how immersive technologies, and by that I mean a mix of technologies around virtual reality, augmented reality, mixed realities, can be used in relation to fashion and fashion design. This is the project that we're looking at, is specifically on how immersive technologies can inform consumers about the heritage and the craft skills that are used in making fashion and textiles. So that's a quick introduction.
No, my first, so I got two images coming to me while you were describing this. And again, I'm the layman, so apologize if these are way off. But I remember in Clueless, I was always very jealous that she had a computer that helped her put together her outfit about what matches, what doesn't, and coordinated with her closet. And then also being in museums where there's a lot of interactive storytelling about the things you're seeing and maybe the fabrics, and then also some computer interaction. Is that what we're talking about, or do you mean something else?
No, absolutely. So it is totally about interaction. And so the hope of our project is that we can take people into an environment where they can experience firsthand how, for example, a weaver in the Outer Hebrides would be making a piece of Harris tweed, for example. So they actually feel immersed in that experience, that unique experience, so they can understand the value of handcrafted, handmade textiles, for example, that is unique to that particular region or area. So it gives them a first-hand glimpse into that world, which is different to watching a film or looking at photography, because it is about total immersion into that environment. So yes, very similar to you.
A pretty obvious question, but what's so important about total immersion in terms of either the way we learn or experience things?
Well, I think in terms of education, it's very much about understanding it from other people's perspectives. So, for example, if you think about fast fashion, if you could transport somebody who shops primarily on the high street, big fashion retailers, for example, you might take Primark or something. And if you transported them to Bangladesh into a textile factory, and they could experience firsthand what those working conditions were like, what that experience is like for somebody else to be on the other side. And I think because we're so distant geographically from how our clothes are made and understanding how our clothes are made, it's almost like an empathy machine, really, in the sense that by transporting someone to a textile waste depot where they can see disposable fashion, for example, and the enormity of that waste, it might make them hopefully rethink how they might shop. Or what they would. I mean, I think one of the latest thoughts is that if you know that you're going to wear something, when you're buying something, think about whether or not you're going to wear it at least 30 times. So it's getting people to think more consciously about their purchases and the decisions that they're making, but also I think, engaging them much more in the process of slow making, which I suppose craft textiles is much more about, getting them to value perhaps spending a bit more money on their clothes, but it has much more longevity and is much more environmentally friendly, and also to much more considerate of working conditions and communities of people.
I really like what you're saying. I especially love the empathy machine. I think that's a lovely way to put it. And you're saying it's not actually just about empathy, but it encapsulates a whole range of things, from the economy of clothes, the environmental impact of clothes, the heritage aspect of clothes, and how things, just the mechanics of how things are made, and appreciating that, to our then relationship with clothes, how long we decide to hold on to something, what the real value of that object is, because it comes with a story. I did do a little research beforehand. I nerded out on some of your research topics, and it said one of your research topics was looking at emerging technologies and how they relate to the craft of these. And it sounds like augmented reality is the kind of perfect bridge that allows us to engage with heritage, but use new technologies to do so.
Yes, absolutely. I think immersive technologies have primarily been used to create experience for consumers, where you have Zara, for example, might set up a shop display where you can actually, by using your phone, you can actually see what those clothes might look like on wearing them. So they've been using immersive technologies within fashion for quite a long time. But I think this is what's unique about this project, is it's looking at it from a different perspective. And also the project is working with is a UK-China project.
Well,
So yeah, so we're particularly interested in the cultural heritage, not just of Scottish textiles and textiles and fashion in the UK, but also in China, where there's such a deep, sort of rich tradition of textiles when you look at the Silk Roads. And so we've had this wonderful opportunity last year, in 2019, to visit Shanghai. We went twice to Shanghai and actually get a much deeper understanding of the cultural heritage of Chinese textiles, and how they're valued and viewed in comparison with, for example, Scottish textiles. So that the cultural heritage is a really important part of our project.
So can I ask about the project itself? What is the scope, and are there aims of things that you would like, ambitious aims that you'd like to get out of it, or is it quite open-ended in terms of what develops from it?
Yeah, I mean, we do have aims. I mean, I think one of the biggest challenges we had was that the project, we had an initial 6-month scoping project last year, and then we're now in a 3-year, much larger project. The project began in February, just before the pandemic and lockdown. So that has changed a lot of what we've had to think what we can do. So we would have, if it hadn't been for the pandemic, we would have been able to obviously make much more visits. We would have been able to visit a lot of the areas in Scotland, as well as to do those kind of fieldwork kind of studies. But one of the areas that we had originally had planned for June was to work on some commercialization workshops to help small businesses, small creative businesses, micro businesses, independents, entrepreneurs, just understand a bit more about the use of immersive technologies, how they could perhaps be used within their own practice to help particularly more remote creative businesses engage more with larger audiences online with the use of immersive technology. So that's one of our aims, is to really look at how we can bring immersive technologies to new audiences of makers. So we're hoping to develop, as part of this, some digital tools that makers can access and use, as well as the expertise and support. So having a sort of cross-disciplinary team where Dr. Yang Jiang, who's from the School of Computing, and her specialist areas in immersive technology, she brings that expertise in that technologies to us. And then Karen, who's from the Creative Business School, and myself, we bring the kind of more sort of creative side of that and the design side of things. So so that's a real aim. I mean, we're really hoping that we can, through fashion film, using immersive technologies, document and communicate much more distinctly the value of craft and heritage. So I suppose they're the main things. But we're going to be running commercialization workshops.
I was just going to ask that. That's great. Tell us about the workshops, please.
Yeah, sure. So we are running. They're going to be the week beginning the 19th of October, and they'll be online on Zoom. And we've got 4 topics. So we're going to be running them on Monday to Thursday mornings, just for 2 hours. So they're quite sort of short snapshots. The first one will be very much on introducing immersive technologies. I think for lots of people, it's a term that they may have heard but really don't understand or know. I know myself, before I started working on this project, I didn't really understand what they were. So the first workshop will be run by Yang, who will talk very much about the different types of technologies and giving examples how they've been used. And then the second workshop is actually going to be facilitated by Tom Innes, who's a visiting professor at the University of Strathclyde, and he also has his own design business called CoThink. And he's going to be particularly working on kind of redesigning for creative recovery. So specifically looking at the issues that creative businesses are having at the moment due to the pandemic, and really helping and giving a really very practical workshop. That will be a signing up one, so it will be limited to businesses who are interested in looking at that, just to help them develop more resilience and tools for coping in these very stressful times.
We will include links below. I just want to let the audience know, so if they do want to sign up. And your hourglass in the background is reminding me, is there a time limit in which people can sign up? Is there a deadline?
Well, at the moment, we still haven't finalized the program. We're just working on that, and we should hopefully have the final program and the links. It'll be through Eventbrite that you can sign up. So we can send all the links to you, Jessica, once we've got that all finalized, which will hopefully be next week. Yeah.
See, that's so exciting, and what amazing opportunities. I really encourage everyone, not to give you a tidal wave of people who want to join, but I really encourage everyone to sign up for this, because it's actually a rare topic given by experts, and I think will really help these businesses, kind of especially during COVID, to kind of engage audiences with what they're doing in remote areas.
Yeah, I mean, we've got 2 other workshops that are happening that week. One on sustainability. So we've got 4 businesses who will be talking about how they've introduced sustainable practices within their businesses. And also one that will help introduce about the Chinese market, understanding the Chinese market for those that might be looking to see how they can break out internationally. So we've got some of our Chinese partners who will be talking about that. So quite a broad range of different topics that we'll be covering that week, but we'll be very shortly sending out more information and signing up information about those.
Just how
But yes,
good.
absolutely. I mean, because we're able this year to actually do this online, we would originally have had this at the university. It does mean that we have far more opportunities for a much wider audience, and we really welcome as many people as possible to sign up. Um,
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And before we go, I do want to end, as I always do, with a little bit of advice that you can offer us that you have learned from your experiences or career along the way that you still find very helpful.
Well, I think one of the main things is that we have to remember that we're lifelong learners. I mean, for me, coming to technology, I suppose later in life, and particularly kind of looking at different types of technologies, was a bit frightening. But I think it's just really important to embrace new ways of thinking. And I think just taking baby steps into new ways of, and not be afraid. I found myself that it's amazing how quickly your confidence builds in trying new things, and I think that's really really important, to always manage that. Think of yourself as always learning new things.
Said like a true researcher and also very wise. Thank you so much. Just
My
really
pleasure.
appreciate it.
It's been lovely to talk to you today.
Bye.